going back a little bit, you did say that you had to stop and think about what you wanted your life to look like. And I know for the age that you're at, like, that could change a million times. So, have you really thought about, like, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan of what you'd want your life to look like? Are there specific places that you have in mind that maybe you would want to move? Have you thought about what that budget looks like? I mean, I know 100% that, like, you want to be a dad and you want to have time to be a dad and be present and all of those things. So, and I know that that takes a lot of, like, careful financial planning and positioning too, so that you have the availability to be able to do that. So, what does your plan right now actually kind of look like?
Yeah, so I think a lot of that goes right along the lines of like where I would have continued going before. Just from like the flow of events that we were talking about prior when I was kind of talking about everything that I've been going through recently. So kind of just I feel like there's still a bit more of a preface before just kind of jumping into the plan. But I will say that a lot of the events that have happened recently have helped clarify that a ton. Um, so going off of the job talk that we've been having, I realized recently I've kind of inadvertently been paying more attention to the kind of personal finance side, where that kind of led to a lot of stress was because I wasn't feeling as fulfilled on the entrepreneurial side, kind of still stuck in that circle of madness, we'll call it. I don't have a good term, but anyway, I was still putting out episodes on here. Obviously, I was still putting out what I felt like was good content, but I didn't really feel like, in a way, what I was giving was my best work, where like I didn't feel like I personally was extremely infused into what I was putting out. And it doesn't necessarily have to be because these are interviews, which is kind of a really good thing about that in a way, because I don't always necessarily have to show up 110% where, a lot of that's about the guest expertise anyway. So there's times that our, lovely guests on here have been able to save me in certain ways as I've been going through a lot of this stuff. But either way, something still felt like it was missing. And like the messages were there, the power was still there with the messages that we were putting out and the stories we were telling, but it didn't really feel like I was like fully there in a way where it kind of felt like I was like sleepwalking in a way, I guess you could say, where like I was just kind of going through the motions. Um, but to this day, my absolute favorite speaker of all time I've ever heard is Trent Shelton. April knows this. I wouldn't call it obsessed, but I love listening to this man speak. For any of you who don't know, he's a former NFL wide receiver, basically turned motivational speaker, podcaster, and YouTuber. So what attracts me the most to his content is just the way that he speaks. And I still don't exactly understand what it is to this day. But like when he speaks, he just has a way that every word he says feels like it's directly pointed at you, like that he is talking directly to you through whatever it is that's going on. And one of my favorite quotes of all time that I heard from him, what I actually heard from him the first time I heard him speak, was that I'm not trying to reach millions, I'm just trying to reach you. And I've actually used that a couple of times. April knows it, but
Mhm.
it's just like so. It was so powerful in the moment. It hit me so hard the first time that I heard him use it. I mean, and some of it, like I've actually looked back in retrospect at this event that I was at when I heard him speak. It was a remote event, so it was me in a room by myself on my computer watching him speak, and that may have actually had an effect on how that was able to affect me so hard. Because if I was actually in a conference room with thousands of people watching somebody speak on stage, I wouldn't have been able to hold eye contact with him. I wouldn't have been able to feel like I was on the stage with him. And I feel like that message might have been portrayed differently because I could look to my right and left and see hundreds of thousands of other people hearing the same message. But at this point in time, I was in a room by myself listening to him speak. Nobody but me, him, and my thoughts. And I think that's some of the reason it had such a profound effect. I know that was totally a sidebar, but I just kind of wanted to point that out. It like hit me last night that like the way that I never really thought about it, the way that that could have had, a certain effect due to the way that it was portrayed. But anyway, not only were the words that he was saying during this first initial speech like directly applicable to me, but I felt that I could also heavily relate to his story because, like I said, he's a former NFL receiver. He also talks about like leaving the sport that he loves and pursuing a new passion. And obviously, like, no, I never made it to the NBA or the NFL, but like, still, I could understand like the love for the game and having to search and find something else. And like I said, from the first day I heard him speak, I quite literally called April, and she might remember this, but I was literally like, I don't know what freaking just happened when I was listening to him, but I want to know how to do that. Like, I don't know what he did. I don't know how he did it, but I want to learn how to do that. And point being that I've recently gotten plugged back into his content, and I'd honestly kind of forgotten what it was like, listening to him speak. And, I'd been placing a lot of my focus and energy into different things that I wasn't on Instagram as much. So I wasn't really seeing his videos on there. I was already listening to 2 to 3 other podcasts a day. So I wasn't hearing his shows when they got aired on there. But getting tuned back in was like just this like total redo of the first time, because it had been such a long time since I'd heard him. And like I said, his content just speaks to me. And he's really helped me realize how I want to frame my own message to the world and what I have to do and how it starts with me. And that's where, like I was saying, like I wanted to preface that just kind of before going into that a little bit, that I've realized I have to reach a certain level of success, productivity, confidence myself before I can kind of come out here and start preaching to everybody else like I know how to do it. And that's why the longer this has gone on, like I've just been getting more and more stressed out, because I was drawn to this, like drawn to that content, and it was great information, and it was stuff that I wanted to share with people tuned in, but it wasn't mine. And while that did somewhat make me feel like a fraud, and not that what I was sharing was anything bad or that I was doing anything wrong, but like I said, it wasn't mine. I didn't feel like I had my personal stamp on it. It doesn't have my name on it. And I realized that I've been playing this character, and this is kind of something I started to allude to in the video that I posted that we shared earlier here, that I've been playing this character that isn't exactly me. And I feel like everything came to this huge conclusion the night prior to filming that video. And since then, I mean, just like the change has been phenomenal, and I don't really know how to describe it, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about that now. That experience prior to filming that video was the most transformational moment I've been through since my original Ground Zero that I talk about on this show. And just in saying that is a pretty big deal to me, because I know the profound change that I've had since that original moment. And that's what I realized that it's about to me, where I want to work on myself. I want to get better. I want to do the things necessary to get to that level of success, to get to where I want to go. And then I want to help other people going through their ground zeros navigate those situations and then build their vision out too. That's what I feel like I'm called to do. Whether that be in the form of a teacher, a professor, a life coach, whatever it is, I don't know what that looks like yet. But that's what I want to do and where I want to be. And I say that because I just have to figure that out for myself. And it's not something I'm going to know tonight. It's not something I'm going to know tomorrow, but it's something that I've realized that I want to do. And just like I said in the video, I can't help anyone else if I can't help me. And I want to get to that point and then continue helping people in such an authentic way, because that is where I was. It's where I am right now. I tell people all the time on here that Ground Zero is a constant phenomenon. I'm going through it again right now. And it's just like, I want to be able to help people knowing the results on the other side. I want to be the living proof. I want to be able to show people that, obviously there's other examples of people that have done this. I mean, we all know a speaker that's come from something and, made it to where they are now. We all know somebody, but they're not me. I mean, and that comes back to, a piece of advice that I got from our mentor, Adam. It's been a while now, but when I was working on things, and I was worried about other people doing it better than myself, he more or less just told me, they're not you. No matter what they do or where they come from, they can't be you. So anyway, their story isn't mine, and they didn't come from where I did. So this is me. And I don't know how often I'll be making videos like that one specifically, but it's something that I want to start doing more. And as I said, like, it's the first time I ever really did that, but I just felt so compelled to share what happened, which is what I'm about to share with you. But I will let you step in before I do that. just because I know I've gone on for a little bit here, but like I've literally felt so touched, like just in the moment. And like you'll understand more when I do go through it. But anyway, I don't really know how to explain it, but I am going to open it back up to you just because I did go through a little bit there. And then I'll talk about like exactly what happened that night and like where that's led since then.
Honestly, I just wanna hear what happened that night. I just
Okay,
wanna know.
fair. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I just didn't want to feel like I was the only one talking the whole time. So anyway, um, just the whole way that it happened was so mind blowing. Okay, anyway, so I'm laying in bed, and like I talk about in the video, I'm in my girlfriend's grandma's spare bedroom because that's where we stay on the weekends when we go home. And I hear a little noise. I don't know if it's my dog, peep her in the back, but I don't know if it's her. I don't know what it was. Could have been the house. I don't know anything. It wakes me up. Okay. So then I'm laying there, and I turn onto my side, and like it's dark in the room. The TV's not on. Like, you know, I'm laying there basically in the darkness. And then the TV turns itself on. Okay. So now I'm sitting there and like, you know, I mean, I'm a little skeptical. I'm like, why did the TV just turn itself on? Um, and for whatever, and the TV's, I mean, I've been laying there in darkness. The TV is literally so bright, and I'm sitting there like half blind, trying to figure out what is actually going on. And for, I mean, it turned out that like for whatever reason, like the Fire Stick was like updating or something, but I still don't know why the TV turned itself on. I don't know. Anyway, I'm like a little sketched out because like the TV just turned itself on. And I didn't really like, I don't know, it was like the weirdest thing. I didn't really feel like turning the TV back off because I was like half awake. I didn't want to reach for the remote. So I just kind of like left it on. But then I couldn't go back to sleep because it was so bright, and whatever. Anyway, so I'm just laying there, and just like I talk about in the video, this song pops into my head. Okay. And I'm like, it's playing through my head, like I'm hearing it, you know what I mean? The lines, the chorus, you know, I'm hearing it go through. And then the song ended. Now, here is the thing. Have you ever had a song pop into your head and it plays all the way through and it ends?
Like, abruptly, and then you just don't hear it anymore? No.
Yes.
No, it'll play, like,
Okay.
all day long and annoy you, and it's just stuck in your head.
Okay. Now, do you see my point? Okay. So this
Yes.
led to yet another thing because I'm like, what is going on? I have never had this happen before. Why did that whole song just play through my head and just stop? So I'm like even more weirded out because the TV's turned itself on, and now I had that little weird experience go on. And I reach over and I grab my phone just because I'm curious what time it freaking even is in the morning. And it's like going on 4 o'clock in the morning. And like, I don't have it here right this second, but like my phone was playing the song. So that's why I was hearing the song, because my phone was playing the song. Like for those of us that have iPhones, you'll understand the little block that pops up with Apple Music when it's playing songs. Like, so like that, the song was like right there, like it had just ended and the song was on my phone. So
Maybe we
now,
should put this episode out for Halloween and call it, like, a ghost story, because I feel like I never
dude,
wanna hang out with you again, I'm scared.
I've never had this happen before. I mean, I could tell you some ghost stories, but anyway, not from that night, not from that night. So anyway, I'm like beyond like weirded out at this point because I'm like, the TV turned itself on, my phone like randomly started playing music, and like at this point I'm like wide awake, and then the TV shut itself off. So now I'm sitting there extremely weirded out and uncomfortable in the friggin' dark, like, trying to process everything that just happened. And like the lyrics from the song are kind of like still going through my head just because, you know, I mean, I just heard it. And then it just kind of hit me like I talk about in the video, like the message that I shared there, like it just kind of hit me all at once. And I'm just sitting there like reeling. And like I had mentioned in the video, like for the first time in a really long time, a couple nights before I had prayed. And, you know, I'm not an extremely religious guy, but like at this point I was like, because I had done that a couple nights, like, yeah, 2 nights before. And then that happened. So now I was like anyway, never did I think that's how it would all go down. but it was like this surreal spiritual moment that I cannot even explain, and it was just so powerful. But it brought this level of transparency and clarity with it that I can't believe, and I'm going to go into that here shortly. But like what I realized is that I was drawn to two different things, as I've said this whole time: financial independence and entrepreneurship, but in two different ways. And what I mean by that is I was drawn to financial independence because, as you said, I want to have my freedom of time. I don't ever want to, miss events for my kids or my wife, my family, anything. I want to be there, and I don't want work to cut into that. I don't want that to be an effect. Not only do I want that, but I want to be able to pursue the things that I'm genuinely interested in. I don't want my work schedule to determine whether or not I can pursue some other opportunity outside of that. And that I may have never had the chance to because I'm too busy working to pay bills or whatever that thing may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying, or just like I've talked to you numerous times about how I just want to be comfortable. I just want to live comfortably and make decisions on a day-to-day basis that don't require penny pinching and being stressed out about money. And I don't think that anybody tuned in right now can really like hate me for wanting that. Like, that sounds pretty good. Am I wrong? Like, just to the point that you can feel in a way financially free. Like, that's the whole message. But here's the thing about my interest in financial independence. It's a dream of mine that I still very much hope to achieve. And it is still something that I want more, really, I don't want to say more than anything, but a very large amount. And it's something that I'm still going to carry with me through all of the endeavors that I have up to that point. But what I realized in that moment was that is an ambition, but it's not my calling. And I realized that entrepreneurship is my calling. This is my calling. I am called to share my story. I'm compelled to share the story of others, and I'm obligated to share what I learned with you. That I feel like is my purpose. That's what I want to do more than anything. I talk on here all the time about how you have to define your own version of success. I know you hear it because you edit the videos. But how many families are out there right now that don't spend every waking moment together? How many families exist right now where, both parents work, they both have jobs, and yet they still don't miss any of your games or events and are still there for you anytime that you need them? How many of you out there have grown up with both of your parents working and still feel like you turned out okay? Like, I'm with you. Both of my parents worked extremely hard to provide for me and my siblings, and they still somehow figured it all out. They were at every event. They, were there for me every step of the way, and still are in most cases. But it really just made me think about, so why wouldn't I be happy if I still had to work after I had a family? Why? What's so wrong about that image? Is there anything wrong with that? No, there's not a thing wrong with that. But why had I manufactured some belief in my own mind that it was all or nothing? There's no real reason. It was this life or death, fight or flight response that I had created in my head, that my life was going to have to be one way or the other. And I mean, either I was just going to be completely free, and we weren't going to have one care about money. I was going to have as much free time as I wanted and whatever, or I was going to be miserable. Does that not sound a little crazy?
It does sound crazy. I'm actually kind of surprised that this is what this was this whole time, because I never thought that that was your belief. Also, I want to know what the song was. You never told us what the song was. And is this
It's in the
literally
video.
all the clarity that you got from that moment? Like, is that like, am I getting this right? Like, this was everything that hit you in that moment? Is there anything more to this honestly scary ghost story, TV on, TV off, phone playing a crazy song, then it stops, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur." Like, is that really? Is that what this is?
Okay, well, I mean, I think that's a little bit surface level, but yeah, we can go into that. So,
Okay.
the song is in the video, so it's not playing, but I do mention it, and I recite the chorus as well. The song is called "Where I Find God" by Larry Fleet. It's a country
Oh,
song.
yeah.
Um, anyway, it's one I've heard a million different times, and I like the message behind it the whole time. But it was just something that this time it hit me enough to realize, what I mean, where do you find that feeling? Where is it? Where is that point in time? Where is that location where everything else kind of ceases to exist when you're doing it? And I know you and I have had different conversations about what our guest Austin Linney said. I mean, what was that thing that you enjoyed most doing as a kid?
Mhm.
Do more of that. But like this was just like a culmination of, and I know you're sitting back and you're saying like, that's it, that's all you got from this, like you've hyped this up for like a week and a half and now we're just here for you to tell me woohoo. But like no, and you had to tell me some yah woo woo story for us to get to that point. Yeah, I know. But what it was for me was it allowed me to finally prioritize which vision is mine, and it allowed me to essentially choose which one I was going to be able to prioritize. And when I've been struggling for so long to find out which one that is, and been stuck in such numerous decisions where I had to choose one over the other, it gave me the clarity that all of that stress was essentially lifted. And yeah, I know it doesn't sound like this big, massive thing, but it was extremely important to me. And it got me off my ass and got me to post a video on Instagram. And, I know it sounds like it's not a lot. I mean, in a way, it's not. But at the same time, that realization is the foundation of everything I'm going to build from here. Because I am now able to realize what is more important. And no, it's not that my kids aren't as important, but it's the fact that I define my own level of success and I can be happy with the situation that I'm in, regardless of the fact whether I have to work or not after I have children. And like, it was up until that moment. I mean, and I was just having a conversation with my girlfriend about this the other night, um, talking to her about the message that I was going to share when you and I recorded this. And, even she kind of looked at me sideways. And this is, for any of you men out there listening to this that have a girlfriend, you'll be able to relate to this instantly. That I'm talking to her and I'm going through this whole thing and I'm telling her that I hit this whole realization, and she kind of looks at me sideways and she goes, "Do you know how many times I've told you that?" and I apologize to her. I'm like, "Look, I'm sorry. Like, I don't really know what to tell you. I'm no behavioral scientist or anything that can give you the science behind all this stuff, but there's times where like you can be too close to it, and even the next closest person to you can be too close to it, and you have to hear it from some other outside source. And no, I can't explain it. No, I can't tell you it's efficient, and no, I can't tell you it's the best way of doing things, but that's what it took. And yeah, she had told me that before, but it took me getting into that high stress environment, getting into that situation where I felt so lost, to, just like we do in Ground Zero, strip everything, look at the clean slate and see what's still there, and build from there, where I was able to say, I can unload all this baggage. And this is what I want to keep here. This is what I want to do. This is what I will be most fulfilled doing. This is what I will be most happy pursuing. And I was able to break that down. And then, I never went back to sleep after that point. I was up working on things. I was, like I said, I was energized. I was compelled. I, spent the rest of that morning planning that video because I was still compelled to share the experience that I had just gone through. And I know, like you said, it doesn't seem like a big thing, but it was really, really big to me. And like I said, the level of clarity that it provided me to now build off of is where I feel like it was more so important, just because it helped me realize a lot of different things that I've been wasting my time on, because I'm not making decisions because I was too worried about splitting them down the middle, making sure that I could achieve both things, or because I was too busy trying to prioritize one over the other. So I wasn't making decisions at all. or just the fact that I haven't been able to make decisions because I can't choose one over the other. Then, like, in being able to finally clarify which was more important to me, that was a pretty big deal. And yeah, I know it might not seem like it. April's sitting there going, yeah, I knew this the whole time. That's just kind of how it is. But I mean, and hey, maybe it's just me. I don't know. That's where I'm saying, like, I haven't gotten personal like this on here before. Maybe it's just something that I deal with. I doubt it, but hey, maybe it's just me that can hear advice from, 5 different people and that care about you. And then you still need to hear it from somebody else before you can actually take it and process it. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's not. I don't know. April's probably getting used to it at this point. But either way, that I feel like is what it was for me, to the point that, like, to me, it wasn't, you know what I mean? That's it. It was like I finally have, like, the piece that's been missing, and now I can infuse that in everything that I do from here. Now I can infuse that into the decisions that I make, and I can use that to build the future that I want. Who's to say I don't achieve both of those things? I still hope I do, but it's not necessarily the end all be all. Where would I rather essentially reach financial independence at whatever point in time after this, and then finally get to pursue something that I'm interested in? Or would I be able to pursue something I'm interested in, find a way to achieve both longer down the road? Would I rather be energized by the work that I'm doing, or the money that I'm making, in a way? Like, not that both can't exist, but yeah. So I feel like that may have been a better explanation, but I will kick it back to you because I know you probably have something to say.
I actually feel like I have several things.
Oh
Okay,
boy.
first thing is, I don't think, for me hearing it, that it was like, "Oh, that's it." No, for me, it was like, is that the key message? And it's hard because if that's the key thing, entrepreneurialism encompasses a lot. So it's not just like, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur now. There had to have been a million more things and ideas that you are seeing in front of your
Yeah.
eyes as far as what that entrepreneurialism looks like specifically for you. It's all of the things that you want to accomplish, the things that you want to work on. So it probably seems just, verbally, it doesn't seem like a lot. But for someone who wants to accomplish a lot of things and has a lot of things on their list, and then feeling clear that, like, yes, this is the direction I want to go, that is intense clarity. So it's not small at all. But honestly, Aaron, so creepy. The TV came on and it was bright, and then I heard this song, and then the TV went off, and it was a song about God. Like, it's kind of scary. Like, it's beautiful, but it's really scary. I mean, great. I'm very happy that that happened and that you were in a safe environment for this to happen. The other thing I want to talk about is, now, for someone who's sitting here saying they had so much clarity and they feel so good about all these things and it was just, like, so clear to you, then why were we still kind of hitting a brick wall on the phone that night? This was after the
Well, because that was
video.
prior. No, it
What are you
wasn't. We were on the
talking about?
phone. No, we were on the
It
phone
was
Thursday
after.
or Wednesday or whatever day it was, because
No.
we were on the phone while I was at work.
Oh, maybe this was the next morning, wasn't it? Okay, I'm probably might just have to edit that out.
So
'Cause
look, okay, so
oh, yeah, you're right,
um,
you're right. Because then I was like, "Okay, no, that's right," and I will edit this out because I was like, you sent me that video the next day, and I was like, "Okay, well, I hope he got all the clarity he needed overnight, and then whatever." Okay, so that's good. All right, never mind. We'll forget about that.
but no, yeah, the series of events was, we were on the phone before I went to work Wednesday night.
That's
And
right.
then we were on the phone while I was at work Wednesday night because we were
Yeah.
still talking.
Yes.
And then Wednesday night, I was extremely stressed out. It was because Wednesday night I came home and that was the night I prayed.
Yes. Yes. Okay, well, that's fine because I remember all of that now. Okay, go ask Raylan.
Um,
Tell him it's your turn. All right, so picking
and
back
yeah,
up. Um, so I guess my next question is, with everything that you're thinking about, has that provided you more of, like, a focus for everything coming up upon graduation. So I don't know if you've really clarified for everyone that you are one way or another with the MBA and what kind of a job you want, what you're looking at, who you're looking at connecting with, the skills you want to grow, some of those things. Go ask Raylan.
So yeah, I know you and I have talked. I don't know if I've clarified it on here or not. But yeah, I've decided not to take the MBA track, just because it got to a point that I realized I don't want to work in management forever. And our MBA program here is heavily management based. Ironically, yeah, I may be going into a position where I'm a manager, but I don't plan on doing that forever. And why go further into debt if I don't have to for something I'm essentially not going to use? And, where like, yeah, that experience may be a stepping stone on my journey. It's not where I want to spend my time. So that's not where I wanted to make that specific investment. So I did decide not to do that. I'm not necessarily saying anybody should be swayed any, differently if that's what they're going through currently, but that's where I was in that moment in time. I have begun to lean far more towards the entrepreneurial experience, like we talked about earlier in this episode, just in the experience that I'll be able to gain. One, in the real estate industry, because I am interested in learning about how to invest and build financial independence, as I've said numerous times over the course of this episode. But excuse me, also because I will get the hands-on experience of actually learning how every facet of that business works. And I will get to build out many different systems and processes to build and scale that existing business. So then at that point, I will either be able to take that knowledge and do it again myself and run my own potentially with you. I know we've thrown in different little things about that out before, or I could also take that experience and do something else with it, because I will then have had the experience of building and scaling a business. Whether or not it's a real estate business, I don't know, but that will be, a lot of the concepts are very similar. So either way, by the time I'm 23, I will have the experience of helping building systems in scaling a business, whether that be onboarding, whether that be everything. There's a lot of different things I will be able to get my hands on very, very quickly. And they're going to walk me through all of it, every facet of how that works. And yeah, I'm going to have to do it for them for a little bit, but then I'll have the freedom to go do it for me. And one of the things that I love about the opportunity is they're very education centric, I guess you could say, where they are very heavy on like helping me learn everything. And they know that I may take it and go somewhere else with it. Who knows? Maybe I'll decide that I love it and I want to stay there. Who knows? I don't know what that looks like yet. But at the same time, I'll be able to build this wealth of knowledge over the next couple of years, and I'll be able to do what I want with it, whether that is building out my own business, whether that is building out my own brand, whatever that looks like. I'll be able to do that with the knowledge that I have there. So that, I feel like, is where it is on the work side. I feel like there's one part of the question I'm still missing now.
I mean, maybe not. If this is what was clear for you and this is where you want to go and where your thoughts are and what makes sense to you, then I don't think you're missing anything. This is very much, what's next on your list, your plan.
Yeah, no, I feel
I
like
don't
there was
think that's
something else
wrong.
that you had said that I was going to touch on. That's all I was. But no, I mean, outside of that, like we just talked about, like I feel like it's led me to a lot of clarity as far as like where I actually want my brand to go. Because you and I have talked about obviously branding the show, branding a lot of different things. Um,
Mhm.
that it's helped me kind of realize where I want to provide value to people, where I have to, not that I can't provide value now because I have, but because in order for me to specifically fill that role, I kind of need to become that person, and that requires work. But there's nothing wrong with that because that's who I wanted to become anyway. And I feel like a lot of the conflict was that I was kind of taking the teachings of others and kind of like doing my best to encompass those, but like I was still sharing somebody else's information. I wasn't exactly making the internal changes. So that's where the clarity came in, that I need to put the work in on those things so I can achieve those levels of success, so that I can then bring that to the table and say like, look, this is exactly what I did and it worked for me. Is it going to work for you? I don't know, but I'm here to help you do that. I'm here to help you figure it out. And yeah, I'm still learning every step of the way, that whether that be through my story, through other stories, and I'm going to continue sharing those. But I don't know. I feel like for me, it was just this big, like, this is kind of what I have to do. And I mean, I will say, like, no, not the whole plan isn't exactly clear yet. I know we talked about potentially relocating a lot earlier in here. Like, I don't have a specific place that I want to go. Will I end up going somewhere? Probably, but I don't have it all figured out. But I feel like what I have is the foundation that I need to build from here.
That's important.
Because I don't know the exact quote, but I mean, we all know what a weak foundation does. So yeah, I feel like that's what it was for me, where it just really helped strengthen the roots per se, that I can now really much more effectively build everything out because it's much more clear on who I am and what exactly I kind of want to do and offer. Um, you know, where or how or with who or any of that stuff. No, I'm not exactly sure. Like I said earlier, like like that could be as a teacher, that could be as a professor, that could be as some sort of coach. I don't know. Um, each and every one of those opportunities would allow me to be in front of people and tell stories and interact with them and help them through their personal situations and build out the vision where they are. So no, I don't exactly know what that looks like down the road, but I know that's the way that I feel I am personally called to serve. And that's the position that I want to be in. And yeah, there's still some stuff that I have to figure out, but that's the journey, you know? And I feel like, you know, regardless of whether it was God or a ghost or whatever, with the whole woo woo experience from the other night, I felt like that was something that was supposed to happen. Like that message was meant to hit me at that point in time. For
Yeah.
whatever reason, by whoever's power, I don't know. But that felt like something that I needed to hear at the time and that I needed to realize. Because like I said, literally a couple nights before, I felt so lost. And you know, I just feel like it helped me really clarify the direction that I want to go and the strength that I need to build it. And yeah, like right now that might not seem like a ton, but the time that that can now save me moving forward, in the experience that that can now help me, what's the word, isolate moving forward, I think is where like the power lies for me. And like, no, you know, I do apologize, I don't have a full plan, but I feel like that level of clarity will help me iron that out and figure out all of those steps that I need to take, because I don't have that back and forth anymore. Like, yeah, it's still something that's there, but it's not, it's kind of like backseat, but it's still in the car.
Well, I think that's fair though. You know, like you are just getting ready to start your next chapter much more independently than you have before. Like you're going to have some more free time and you get to decide what you want that to look like. You get to decide the skills that you want to build. You get to decide who you're engaging with, what fills your cup, what doesn't. And it is uncomfortable and it's definitely a learning process, whether you're going to do this with remote companies, whether you're going to do this with places that are local. It's all your choice, and that should be really exciting, but I think a lot of students can definitely find that to be very scary when you have that blank canvas to kind of throw anything you want up against the wall. And like I had said before, when we had talked about a little bit of my journey, I wish I would have been more excited about it and more open to how fun it could be and not let it be this big scary thing where I felt like I had to show up and be this thing that I'm not, kind of like what we talked about at the beginning. For who? For nobody. Because as soon as you graduate, you know, you're not with these same people every day. People aren't as worried about you as you might think that they are. They're out there trying to do their own thing. Yes, it's important to have family, and it's incredibly hard if you don't. And it's just about figuring out the opportunities that you want to take and what you want your life to look like. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to live it. And that probably sounds harsh and it's something that people probably say way too much, but it's something that I've had to learn the hard way. It's like people can give me any opportunity and tell me, "Oh, I'd love to see you do this." And I actually, you know what? I actually thought about this. I was like, "Man, I hope I'm not that person that's pressuring Aaron because I want to see him do all these things. Because at the end of the day, whether you do them or whether you don't, it's not going to please me because I'm still going to be focusing on what I'm doing. You have to do what makes sense for you. Like, I know there's that marketing conference that I was like, man, I would just love to see you go. And just, I feel that there'd be so many opportunities for you. And after we spent like what, an hour and a half going back and forth about all these things, and I was like, all right, you just do whatever you want. Um, I was like, man, I really hope I was not that person that's like pressuring him. And I hope he doesn't feel a certain sense of like obligation, like, man, I've got to go do this because she said or whatever. Because it's not going to change my day at the end of the day. It's going to change yours. So it's very important to listen to the scary phone messages, the scary TV. It's, whatever feels right to you is what you need to listen to, whether it comes from technology or a person or whatever. It has to be the best choice that you feel comfortable to make for you. So I think the next thing I would love to ask as we like wind this down is for people who haven't experienced these random moments of clarity that everyone wishes that would probably just happen, weeks before graduation, what would you say to someone who still has absolutely no idea where they're going, what they're doing, they don't know what opportunities are coming, whether they are or whether they aren't? What is your best advice?
Yeah, so I love that question, and simply because it kind of refers back to some of the things we talked about in the beginning and some of the things I talked about in the video. Where for me, I'm not saying this is anything that anybody has to do, but what has worked for me is that I always more or less get to a point that I'm so sick of where I am and so sick of being stressed, so sick of being confused, so sick of not knowing what's going on, that I just get to this point that I'm so beyond stressed out that I can't sleep. And I end up awake at like freaking 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, just like in the video, just like the original Ground Zero. And it's in that point in time that it's just me awake. There's no noise in the house, no noise on the TV, no noise going on outside. It's just me, basically there in the dark, dead quiet. And it's in that point in time. I had a conversation very similar to this that will also be coming out here with Julian Sato about basically sitting in silence. That was extremely powerful, that I would definitely say, as far as actionable goes, check that out as well. But I now see how that relates to these moments, just because it's in those times where all the other stuff is cut out. It's basically just me and my thoughts. And I can sit there and listen to basically internal me, like about, you know what I mean? Maybe it's the things that we wished for when we were kids. Maybe it's the things that we want to achieve in the future. I don't know. But you can sit there and you can have that internal conversation. And like, yeah, I know some of you are looking at me weird, like, yeah, just sit in the dark and talk to yourself. Like, I know but it's not like that. Like, you can truly sit there and ask yourself those questions. Like, if I'm stripped of everything today, what's most important to me? What if, if I have nothing else in my life, what do I need and want to have? Is that family? Is that money? Is that a big house? Is it children? I don't know. You have to decide that for you. Excuse me. You just sit in that moment. And I mean, you can write it down or you don't have to. You can speak it out loud. You can do whatever you want, but you just sit there in that moment and ask yourself those questions that, if I lost everything, what do I still want to have? Like, maybe that's your friends. Maybe it's not. I can tell you my circle got an awful lot smaller because I stopped wasting my time on certain people. And that's not to say that, anybody that's out there right now that I don't talk to as much, that I was wasting my time on you. That's not what I mean. But I just got to a point that I realized all the different places that really weren't serving me in any way, shape, or form, and what I truly wanted to do. And I mean, yeah, that was share my story and become an entrepreneur. But like, obviously that's not everybody. So what I'm saying, I guess, is like I said, what worked for me is like, and I've told people forever, like, if you don't know what you want, stay up late at night, all night, whatever it takes, it'll come to you. And That's the way it's worked for me. And like I said in the video, like maybe it's not staying up late, maybe you get too tired and that just increases the stress. Like maybe that doesn't work for you, and that's okay. I mean, we're all different. Maybe you have a special place that you like to go. Maybe you like to go hiking. Maybe you like to go boating, swimming. You know what I mean? Like I love playing basketball, but for me, that's not really like a thought experiment where like, when I'm doing that, I kind of get wrapped up in that and I enjoy it, but it's not really something I do to go think. So like think about the places that you like to go when you just need to think or when you want to be alone. Think about the places that you enjoy the most. Where, like I talked about earlier, the place that you go or the things that you do when everything else just disappears. That is what I consider where I find God. Like we talked about in the video and in the song, where, yeah, like I felt that specific night was literally, like I said, 2 nights after one of the most stressed that I've been in a very long time. So then hearing a song, talking about someone that's lost and doesn't know where to go or doesn't know what they're doing and doesn't feel worth saving, but gets saved anyway, was something that was very spiritual for me in that exact moment. And, you know, like I said in the video, it doesn't have to be for religious or spiritual reasons. Just put yourself in that moment where everything else has gone quiet and you can sit there and think about what you actually want out of your life. And maybe it's not even remotely close to the direction that you're on right now. That's okay. Like mine was a pretty big change. I was an early education major when I switched to business. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Like, and I guess I can't say that it's not aligned, but it's not where I was. And that's why I made the shift. But like, maybe you're pre-med right now and you're realizing, maybe I don't want to go to med school. There's nothing wrong with that. We have time, man. You have time to figure it out. No matter what you do, there's always time to turn around and there's always time to fix it. I mean, how many people you see in their 40s that change their mind about what they want to do? I mean, like, and I know, like, obviously he's not 40, but like, I mean, um, Jay is a prime example of this, that he, has worked so long doing this thing. I mean, and then one little event changed everything. And he decided, you know what, I'm going to go get my degree and I'm going to go do something different. I want to be bigger than this. I want to do something different. I want to be more than this. And there's not a damn thing wrong with that. Matter of fact, I applauded it. I still love to this day that he is going out and getting that done. Despite the fact that he has 2 kids and a girlfriend carrying another one at home. Like, and you guys are making it work. And now I will say that a lot of that comes back to your strength. I will say that because he obviously could not do it without you and he does need help. But there's nothing wrong with finding those people around you that can help you through that time to make that change. There's nothing wrong with change as long as you're pursuing something that actually is important to you and that you and the direction that you actually want to go towards your calling.
I'm going to interrupt because there's a really good point I want to make here. And this does tie into what you were talking about earlier about Trent Shelton or Sheldon. Am I saying that wrong? Sheldon? Is that his last
name? The T, Shelton.
Is that right? Shelton? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I love that for Jay too. And the main reason why that was so possible for him is because he changed his network, which changed his mindset. He changed the content and the things that he was taking in. And that has completely changed him. I think he got so much out of my college experience because I would come home and talk about what happened during the day. I would share all of my ideas and how I'm like, oh my gosh, who knew that going into financial economics with marketing and entrepreneurship could lead to all these other things, because every company in America, no matter what the industry is, needs marketing. They need this stuff. Like, you can be creative. Who knew that you could just give your creative input to these companies and be marketable as a person? Like, and that also goes back to, you are not somebody else. Like, you are valuable because you are you. You come with these ideas, you come with this experience. So you have to lean into that, and I feel like that's really what's made the difference for me, and he's even seeing now that that's what makes the difference for him. So him being around me editing all these podcasts and telling him, "Oh my gosh, Aaron interviewed this person, amazing. You know, this other person that I work for interviewed this person, amazing." And he's like, "Oh my god, this gets me thinking." So when he's driving to school at night to go work on his degree, he's thinking about all of these things that I'm telling him, or I'm like, "You've got to listen to Austin Linney's episode. Like, you have to." He listened to the whole thing the other night, and I can't tell you how many times shaking his head. He's like, "Yep, yep." And he was like, "Wow, he came from that. How old is he?" And I was like, 39, and it doesn't matter. Look at what he's done. And Jay's like, "Damn, I can do that. How do I do that?" You know, and it gets him so excited about life. And he does not have a normal college degree. He graduated 2011. It's 2022. He just started. Like, I pointed out to him last night, I'm like, "Dude, you've been doing this for 3 months." And he's like, "Oh my God, 3 months already." I said, "Yeah, you're going to be done next June. Like, you graduate the same week Raylan graduates kindergarten. It's going to go by real fast, just like this." But it goes back to who you're keeping in your forefront of your network. So, like, how um you've talked in other episodes about getting rid of friends or friends dropping you and feeling like, relationships didn't matter, and you put all your energy into this stuff, and did it serve you, did it not? And it's so disheartening. And then at the same time, why do we let so much time go by where we aren't engaging with the people who have inspired us? Like, why don't we engage with that stuff? Why don't we make time for it when that's what makes us feel good? I don't care if they're celebrities or not. It makes you feel at home with yourself. It makes you feel like you. So why not just take the time and just tune into their story on Instagram throughout the day or whatever? Because you might get so much out of it just by taking that time for yourself. Like, I will say, there's a woman that I work with, and she's based out of Los Angeles, and she just shared the story with me yesterday, where she struggles in her business. Her business is not real estate, it's insurance. And she was like, "Man, I've had, there's just so much with family and with work." She's like, "I never spend money on anything, but I went and got a pedicure this weekend." And she said, while she was sitting there was a super sweet lady sitting beside her. And ironically, somehow they got on the topic of business. And the lady asked her what she does. And she was like, "Well, I have this business, and we are in partnership with this other thing." And this lady was like, "Oh my God, I need that. That would be so valuable. Like, this is exactly like the perfect time. I can't believe that, you're sitting there beside me right now." And it's like, isn't it amazing how even when you do take a moment to do something for yourself, it can still open another door for you, like, professionally? She was so mesmerized by this, and I was like, "We have to blog about this. We have to talk about this somewhere. Like, this is beautiful." And I'm like, I wish more people had stories like this. I wish I had a story like that. Like, but the only way I'm gonna get a story like that, I mean, maybe the sign is I need to go get a pedicure, I need to go get a manicure, and then I need to, like, justify and be like, "Jay, I'm telling you, I'm gonna have all this professional stuff just pop up as soon as I go spend all this money on myself." Totally kidding. But that's what I mean. It's like, why don't we spend time engaging with things that make us feel good? Because there could be so many other good things that come out of it that you don't even realize. So that's really what I've done. And I don't know, this might be like such a long off point tangent from what we were talking about before. But point being, when you do spend time focusing on yourself and taking in content that feels good to you, it changes your mindset, and that changes your life. Just like with me,
Absolutely. Yeah, I
partially.
mean, I
With
think a really good example of that. Sorry, are you still going?
I mean, I was, but I
Okay,
can
you can go.
stop.
You can go if you want. You can go if you
Uh,
want.
I was just gonna say, there are so many, I guess, influencers, okay, that I follow on Instagram, but it's not for, all the salesy stuff. It's not like I want to be them and be doing what they're doing. I am looking at where they're living. I'm looking at the kind of family life they have. And I'm like, look at everything that they're able to do. Look at all of the places that they're able to go. Look at all of the experiences that they're able to have in the area that they're in. I want to do that. I want to feel that freedom. I want to give my kids those experiences too. And like, yeah, okay, I shop a little, but like, this makes me feel good. I don't have a lot of friends in person that I can go talk to about whatever. And that is not supporting my mindset. But when I'm engaging with their content and I'm like, okay, for example, yesterday, a girl that I follow, she's a photographer in Nashville, posted all these different photo shoots that are coming up. And I was like, Jay, we've got to go. Like, we got to, get excited. Let's go buy, for Christmas, because she's talking about Christmas photos already. Let's do tuxedos and let me get a very big over the top, like Carrie Underwood style dress. And let's go do that for our family. Even if it's not professional stuff, allowing yourself to have the freedom to go do something fun, off the wall, different, and even using that travel as a time to get away from your normal everyday space, whether that's work or even if you work from home. I feel like that also brings so much clarity and builds relationships. And Jay's like, yes, that sounds like so much fun. So he's not thinking like, oh, it's just something we have to do, or oh, that's money we have to spend. It's like, this is something we can enjoy together. We're going to get so much out of it. Let's plan an experience. We'll have time to talk. We'll have time to dream, and just continue to figure out what feels right for us. Are we going to live in this area? Are we going to engage with new people? We're going to give our kids new experiences. Like, sorry if this is super long-winded, but I feel it so much. Just how you said, you're like, I don't know why I didn't engage with this speaker that speaks to me so much. Why do we spend so much time away from the things that make us feel at home, that make us feel inspired, that give us that clarity? Because damn, Aaron, it's been since last summer since we've talked about him. I was on that conference too. So like, why? It seems like it should be so obvious that, yeah, you had so much clarity. You were literally calling me that night, like begging me to go halfsies on you with like making the investment to be a part of their stuff. And I was like, let's just slow down. Let's slow down. But you were so excited. So why, even for me, like, why haven't I even thought about, being like, hey, why don't you just check in with this dude that like really inspired you and maybe see how you feel? Like, take some time for yourself. All right, I'm done. That was a lot.
Okay, so I got a lot of things out of that too.
Okay.
But I think one of the biggest things is because we take the beliefs of other people into effect. And where like I have had this kind of like ambition for financial independence for a little while, like we talk about, but I've allowed that to kind of cloud my vision for entrepreneurship. And because of that, that's caused the disconnect where like the content I've been plugged into is about personal finance, but that's not helping me accelerate anything in the direction of entrepreneurship. Like I've been listening to 2-3 podcasts a day all about, your finances, about what to do with your money out of college, about, about all kinds of different things. And like, yeah, like, don't get me wrong, like there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not what makes me feel the most alive. It's not what makes me feel the most energized. It's not what sets my soul on fire, like April likes to say. But it's because of like societal things, like where like I decided very early on that like I wanted to live different than what I saw from most other people. And not just because, and not that I just want to have FU money, but just because I want to have the opportunity to do things and enjoy things and experience this life for what it can be. I don't want to just work my life away just so I can have however many years of retirement that aren't guaranteed. And like, I'm not trying to go off too far, but it's because we take too much of what's important to other people and consider it important to us when it's not. And I did that for so long that like, what was important to my parents was important to me. What was important to my friends was important to me. What was important to this person or this person to this person was important to me. That's not how it's supposed to be. And that's where I say, like in these ground zero moments, that I shed everything because I have to get so upset with where I am that I can say, F what you think, and screw you too, to where I can finally sit there and say, this is what's freaking important to me and focus on that. And no, I don't have a good answer for why it takes that. If I could figure it out, man, I'd be doing so much better right now. But like, not that where I am is a bad place, but like the amount of time it would save me in back and forth because of the struggle to make decisions and things would be phenomenal. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we don't, a lot of us don't really know how to look internally and find those things that are so important. And like, I will honestly say, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, like I've struggled with depression. I struggle with anxiety. I've struggled with a lot of different mental health issues and things. And I will say that's held me back some, but I also won't say that the way I think fuels those things. And yeah, it's very difficult sometimes because like, yeah, I have such big dreams and aspirations, and that provides secondary anxiety if I'm not on a path that seems like I'm going to get there, or if that I'm not fulfilling something that is going to take me there, like, but what I'm saying is like, it took me getting to a place where I had nothing left to lose before I could finally look inside of myself for and accept that I was where I was and that I cared about what I did and that I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And that is where I feel like so many of us get caught up, because we are constantly fighting with what's important to us and what's freaking important to everybody else. And we don't know how to look internally, because a lot of us don't even like ourselves because we don't fit the image that somebody else says we're supposed to. And that's where I get frustrated, because I still do. I still struggle with it. How long did it take me to post a freaking video on Instagram? A year and a half? Like, but yet I could have been doing this for how long? How much have I missed out on? And I'm not saying that like we should long for something that we didn't have over this whole time, but what I'm saying is we should learn from it. And what I'm saying
So what
is
did you learn from it?
I told you, I learned what I want to be, what I want to do. And,
Yes.
I've learned
Yes.
that despite what everybody else freaking says, this is what I want to do. And yeah, don't get me wrong, finances are important to me, but this is what I want to do. And it's finally clear where like I wanted to do it anyway, but I wasn't in a state that I would say, this is where I want to be and this is what I want to do. I would say that I wanted to do this, and this. Well, no, I want to do this. If I achieve those things as a byproduct, that's great. But this is what I want to do. This is where I want to spend my time. This is where I feel most alive, and that's what I'm going to pursue becoming. And that is where I think so many people get stuck, because we don't know what that thing is. But it's because we don't, like I said, we struggle to fit an image that's put on us by society. And because of that, we don't like to look inside ourselves, because we don't even like ourselves.
We don't even give ourselves time to turn inward. We don't have time because we're too busy, right? We don't take the time to spend time with ourselves. We don't even know who we are at the end of the day. And it's hard. It's hard to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and like, and a lot of like I said, this moment we keep talking about was so like philosophical for me, just because it like, like you started talking about like all the different ideas that come to you. And yeah, don't get me wrong, like I had a few that we can talk about that I don't want to jump into now because we've been going for a long time already. But like I've been able to look back on all the times that has held me back. And like I can do that anyway, but like I can just look back on all the times. Like, I mean, I can be fully transparent here. Like I used to race dirt bikes when I was young. And there was a time where I was so excited. I finally like convinced my dad to take me to like an actual race. I was going to go race against these kids, wherever it even was. And like we got there, I signed up, I registered, I was all ready to go. And I literally like was on the bike running and never went. Never went out there. Shut it off, packed it up, and went home. And it really hit me how I've let that anxiety run my life from a very young age, that to the point that it literally paralyzed me in that moment. And that something I wanted to do so bad, I let it keep me from. And I still never did. I never did it. I never went back to it. I never raced again. Weird thing. I still ride. I still enjoy doing that, but it's not the same. And, like I said, I know that's a very like kind of awkward example because it was so long ago, but I'm just able to look on that with a different level of clarity than I had before. And, just like you said, it's, I mean, and I can speak to this myself, like once you start looking internally and you find the direction that you want to go, it is amazing how fast things change. And I know I've said that before, but I like literally cannot emphasize this enough. Beyond the point that I decided I was going to pursue entrepreneurship, I found a mentor, I found a network, I found people that were going along that were able to push me to continue going down that route. I got introduced to April, I got introduced to Adam, and I got introduced to now over 50 other freaking awesome people that I've got to hear their story and share awesome conversations with and share with all of you. But what I'm saying is, if I never looked internally, if I never sat in that moment and truly shed myself of everything else that was weighing me down to realize what I wanted to do, I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here in this conversation. We wouldn't be having this conversation. We might not have ever even met. Hard telling.
Not even 2 chairs away. Would never even met.
Yep. And it's unbelievable. And yeah, like, and I know her and I talk about this all the time. Like, we had to meet somebody living in Canada to introduce us to each other when we sat 2 chairs away from each other in the same classroom. And that's my point, that you never know who might become a part of your journey. And you never know where any of those events might take place. You mentioned your conversation. She went to get a freaking pedicure. Like, you never know. But that's like, if you're taking the time for yourself and something that you're passionate about and something that you are interested in pursuing, the people that are meant to become a part of that will gravitate towards you. If you continue to carry some false facade and wear this image that's not you, you're going to attract people that are attracted to that. And that's where I say, I know it's hard. I still struggle a lot of times. You know what I mean? I can still tell you sometimes I look in the mirror and I don't like what I see, but I can work on that. You know what I mean? That's something that I've, like, through this moment, I decided it's something I'm actively going to work on. It's because in this moment, I found the clarity of all the things that I'm not comfortable with myself that I need to work on before I can help somebody else. And like, no, I'm not saying that I haven't provided any value to somebody up until this point, but in order for me to live the life that I want and be as happy as I want, I got to love me. I can have as much as I want and not love me and be miserable. And I know we hear that from gurus all the time. And I know I've made this go on yet however longer because we just, but I feel like it's really important that some of us realize just how important it is to look internally and find what's important to you. And yeah, some of us are like, yeah, we know what you're talking about. But if you're not happy, then you're not doing it. But yeah, I know this has turned into the kind of one big rant from me today, but I personally feel that there's a lot of value in what I went through. And no, maybe it's not monumental, but it's structural.
It's a
And it's going to
start.
help. Exactly. And it's going to help me grow into the person that I want to become. That's what I feel like was so important to me, because I feel like I was finally able to shed something that's been holding me back for so long. And it's not gone, but I can recognize it. And in being able to recognize it, I can combat it. And like, now that I can actionably notice in real points in time that my anxiety is what's talking, that my depression's what's talking, I can tackle those obstacles as I see fit, because I can recognize that, because for however long, those were the things in the driver's seat. Not anymore. I don't want to live that way.
Yeah.
And that's where now I can say that, and that's where I really wanted to share that. And yeah, I know, like, some of you still might be, listening going, yeah, whatever, kid. But at the same time, if you're still here, I struck a nerve somewhere, because this has been a long one. So
These are longer than mine. This is good.
But yeah, I think that we've just touched on so many important things today. And I'm glad I was able to share a little bit about what I'm going through and where I'm coming from. I hope that my journey and what I'm going through currently is something that you guys can relate to out there. One last thing I would just say, and I know we mentioned it a lot, both of us, is don't be afraid to dream. Like, after my first ground zero, like, the things that have happened since that moment is stuff I could have never seen coming, even if I had dreamt it up. And I honestly just hope that my life continues to follow that path where, like things turn out better than I ever imagined. That's something else that I say on here all the time. What if it turns out better than you could ever imagine? Don't let your anxiety or your depression or whatever it is hold you back from that. Jump in, kid. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard. But if everything turned out exactly how you imagined, and I know you've had the dream in whatever industry you want to go into, whatever your life, whatever you want your life to look like, I know you've pictured it. If everything turned out exactly that way, and then some, would you let this one thing hold you back? I hope not. And that's something that I'm actively going to start trying to make sure I do a lot less. And it's going to be a journey. You know what I mean? Like it kind of just hit me. Like I've known, but I felt like now I'm at a point where I'm even more
You're owning
so
it.
like, yes, exactly. And I mean, I feel like where I had a knowledge before, now I'm accepting it. And this is how things are. And now I'm going to do my best to react accordingly. Or no, act accordingly instead of reacting rather than, basically what I mean by that is now I'm going to try to act in it ahead of time rather than reacting to events that have already happened, because, it's easy to look back on it and say it, but if you can get ahead of it, that can change a lot of different situations for you. And yeah, I think that's my spiel. Thank you so much for coming to my TED Talk. I I think I went over the time limit a little bit, but yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that I can say is you don't know what's possible. You don't know. We don't know what the world's going to look like in 10 years. iPhones might not even exist. We don't know. I'm recording on one right now. We don't know. I mean, and it's just, yeah, I know I had some weird supernatural epiphany, but I don't know. I can't say too much to it, but man, just I can't emphasize enough how much I hope somebody tuned in today just finds the strength to step through one little thing and realize where they truly want to go. That's what I'm here for. That's what I want to help people do. And that's what I hope we're accomplishing. I want you guys to be able to find what's most important to you and start building a vision around that. But yeah, so I think with that, I'm going to shut the heck up. I've already taken up enough of your guys' time, and I'm sure we're going to break this up, but still, if anybody made it through this far, I mean, I appreciate you more than you know. And if you did make it this far, I want you to let me know, because I want to say thank you. It's been a wild ride, and it's just going to continue to be. And April's been a massive part of it. And even just urging me to come on and have this conversation today is a lot of her doing. So I don't want you guys to look at me and think that it was some type of magic, because it wasn't. I mean, a lot of it has ironically came from some very strong women in my life, one being my mother, one being my girlfriend, and one being April.
Oh.
Not to mention, I have more mentors. Adam has been a huge part of this whole journey as well. But a lot of things that have happened recently came from, like I said, those people specifically. So don't, neglect those people when you're on your journey. You don't realize how much of a effect they've had until you look back. So anyway, as I said, I'm going to stop talking now. April, did you have anything else you wanted to pitch in just before we go ahead and close it out?
Well, thank you. And no, I don't think so. I think this was really good. I hope this was really good for you personally to be able to just get it out and talk through all of it. I think it's great for the audience to get to know you more on a personal level of like what you actually go through. Especially as you're coming up upon graduation. And while you were talking, I was just thinking about how, yeah, we just released a couple episodes ago was the 1 year anniversary. And I can remember just before graduation for me, sitting out in the grass, and there you were, and we were just talking about getting connected with Adam, what a podcast is, how we're gonna do this, like, whatever. And I'm sitting here thinking now, like, man, a year from now, when he's been out of school for a year, I would love to do another 1 year check-in and be like, okay, so from that very pivotal moment, you know, where has this year taken you? And I just, oh, I'm excited for that. Like I can already tell like there will be some great stories from this starting point to whatever this day looks like a year from now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's astronomical. I was having a conversation with one of my professors earlier, Professor Petrus. You obviously know him, but the viewers might not. And he was talking about like just the sheer level of growth you'll experience kind of in the coming years. He said, how much did you grow from 16 to 18? Would you say it was pretty noticeable? Yeah. How about how much you grew from 18 to 21? At least 5x. 21 to 25, 10x. 25 to 30, 25. And it's extremely hard to fathom that because I just know how far I've come from a year and a half ago. I can't imagine that. But all I can say is that, each and every experience has been wonderful and I've learned so much, so much. And it's only going to go from here, like, but yeah, so I won't go on anymore. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope just that the message made its way through and that I inspired somebody else out there to, change directions. So what if this is ground zero? The best place to be, if you ask me. Always remember, guys, this is Dream Chasers Ground Zero, and there's nowhere to go from here but up. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks, April.